Morning, everybody. Big decision today. Will the U.S. stay or will it get out of the Paris Climate Pact? World leaders are waiting that call from President Donald Trump. That will happen in a Rose Garden moment today. And here at home, two rivals slinging mud as if we were still in the middle of a campaign. This is very interesting. As we say, good morning on a Thursday. Big day ahead inside the West Wing. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home. How you doing, Shannon? How are you?
Good morning. I feel like we're in a bit of a time machine. Like we've gone back 6 months right back into the campaign. I'm Shannon Bream. Right now we're awaiting President Trump's decision, though he and Hillary Clinton are renewing their rivalry on Twitter after Clinton sounds off on, yet again, her election loss, blaming pretty much everyone and everything except herself.
The other side was using content that was just flat out false and delivering it in a very personalized way. I get the nomination, so I'm now the nominee of the Democratic Party. I inherit nothing from the Democratic Party. The Comey letter, which was, now we know, partly based on a false memo from the Russians. So for whatever reason, and I speculate, but I can't look inside the guy's mind, you know, he dumps that on me on October 28th, and I immediately start falling.
President Trump reacting to that and also breaking developments surrounding the alleged unmasking of Trump transition advisors by the Obama administration. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts joins me now live from the White House. Good morning, John.
Shannon, good morning to you. And the president going back and forth with Hillary Clinton, a little Twitter war going on over her comments yesterday. The president tweeting, quote, "Crooked Hillary Clinton now blames everybody but herself, refuses to say she was a terrible candidate, hits Facebook and even Dems and DNC." To which Hillary Clinton promptly replied, quote, "People in covfefe houses shouldn't throw covfefe," which, of course, is a reference to that mysterious tweet the president sent out the night before where he seemed to misspell the word cover and then went to bed. The president's also tweeting about the issuance of subpoenas in the unmasking investigation by the House Intelligence Committee, saying today, quote, "The big story is the unmasking and surveillance of people that took place during the Obama administration." This whole thing with the issuance of subpoenas is a combination of not surprising and surprising. First of all, the not surprising that they sent subpoenas to the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA requesting documentation regarding Susan Rice, the former national security advisor of the Obama administration, as well as John Brennan, who was the CIA director. What is surprising, though, is the request for information regarding Samantha Powers. She was the United Nations ambassador. She also served as a foreign policy advisor to then Senator Barack Obama in his Senate office before joining the administration. It's pretty clear that the House Intelligence Committee, or at least factions therein, believe that she had much greater involvement than had been previously suggested in the unmasking investigation, and that she actually had a greater involvement than did either Susan Rice or John Brennan. Those subpoenas, by the way, among 7 that were issued by the intelligence chairman, Devin Nunes of California. There were 2 that were issued by the ranking member, Adam Schiff. Those subpoenas were seeking information regarding Michael Flynn and Michael Cohen, who was President Trump's longtime personal attorney in the Trump organization. Now, Cohen told us yesterday that he was not going to cooperate with a general request for information, but did tell Fox News that he would work with his attorneys to satisfy the requests of a subpoena. Clearly, Shannon, a subpoena kicks it up to a different level in Cohen's mind than just a request for general information did.
It absolutely does. All right, so what do we expect to hear from the president on the Paris climate deal this afternoon? We all are waiting.
That's open to debate and speculation. Yesterday, we were getting indications that the president was going to announce that the U.S. was pulling out of the climate deal completely, and then we started to get indications, because he had not yet made a final decision, that maybe he would do a sort of a piecemeal approach to it, withdraw from certain parts of UN conventions while staying in the overall framework of the Paris Climate Agreement. Certainly yesterday, when he was appearing in the Oval Office with Vietnam's prime minister, the president was giving nothing away. Listen here.
On the Paris climate deal,
very soon.
Are you leaning towards getting out?
Yeah, you're going to find out very soon.
Find out very soon. In fact, we will find out this afternoon at 3 p.m. when the president will hold a Rose Garden event. Got to point out, Shannon, a lot of competing interests here at the White House and outside the White House as well. Manufacturing, environmental groups. A lot of people want the president to stay. A lot of people want the president to pull out as well because they think that staying in that climate accord will cost the U.S. jobs. Shannon?
Well, and as you're saying this, I'm getting emails in my inbox talking about demonstrations they're going to hold at the White House, and we don't yet have a decision, so we know you're on it. John Roberts live at the White House.
Right.
Thanks, you.
Shannon.
Great point he makes there at the end, too. More on that in a moment. Hillary Clinton unloading about her election loss. Again, here is more from that post-mortem regarding November's results.
The use of my email account was turned into, the biggest scandal since Lord knows when. This was the biggest nothing burger ever. It was a mistake. I've said it was a mistake. I didn't break any rule. Nobody said don't do this. And I was very responsible and not at all careless.
You can imagine this is getting a lot of reaction. Byron York, chief political correspondent, Washington Examiner, Fox News contributor. Byron, good day to you.
Good morning, Bill.
Wow, I'll show you a list in a moment, but first go ahead and weigh in. You call this performance extraordinary. In what ways?
It really was. I mean, Hillary Clinton has not been exactly quiet about her defeat in the last few months, but she has never revealed the extent of the blame and resentment she appears to feel about it until this performance yesterday. And she went through a long list of things that she blames for her defeat. I mean, she blames the Russians. She said Americans colluded with them. She blames the press for covering the email question. She blames big Republican donors. She blamed the DNC for not giving her a good data operation. She blamed Republican voter suppression efforts, she called them. She blamed sexism. I mean, she blamed everybody.
In fact, you don't have to go from memory. We have a list, Byron. For viewers at home, here it is. There are dozens here. 2 different columns. The FBI, Vladimir Putin, misogynist in column 1. Look at column number 2. Third from the bottom, content farms and Macedonia. Hit them all.
Yeah, she really did, and what it suggests, and by the way, she's writing a book about this, and she referenced that she'll be discussing this at greater length in her book. But what it suggests is that she's definitely not moving on. That she is deep into the weeds of the Russia investigation, and this was something we know, by the way, from the only and best book published so far about the Clinton campaign, that a decision to blame the Russians on the defeat was made the day after by the defeated Clinton campaign. And it ignores so many of the actual political reasons for her loss. As a matter of fact, when she blamed the Democratic Party's data operation, the people who ran that data operation are now pushing back, saying, wait a minute, we did a good job.
Yeah, she was well, that's to be debated, too, and we'll continue on that. She was also asked about why she was not in Wisconsin, and she blamed Scott Walker, the Republican governor there. Just a bit more here about how she forecasts into the future and how she sees power in Congress in 2018.
If we can flip those, if we can then go deeper into where I did well, where we can get good candidates, I think flipping the House is certainly realistic.
We're going to have a lot of coverage on that 18 months away from now, Byron, so put that on the back burner. But the same day that she makes this address, Joe Biden announces he's going to form a political action committee. So now you start to see the gears in motion for Democratic possibilities now 3.5 years from now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, it's not rare for Democrats to be forming pro-democratic organizations and trying to win elections. But clearly, I think for a lot of Democrats, winning the House in 2018 is extremely important because it means they would then have subpoena power. They would have the power to impeach the president if they choose. They would have the power to pursue Donald Trump in a way that they cannot do now because they don't chair any committees in the House or the Senate. The Senate doesn't look really good for them in 2018, but they believe, as you just heard, that they can take the House and then they can really go after the president.
Thank you, Byron. Byron York, analysis there today in Washington, D.C. 9 minutes past the hour.
Well, on on top of the House Intelligence Committee expanding its Russia investigation and issuing subpoenas, as John Roberts just reported. We're also learning former FBI Director James Comey may testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee as early as next week. Special counsel Robert Mueller has signed off on his appearance for a public hearing. Our political panel weighs in on all of this a little bit later.
Very intriguing, right? Yeah, and it appears to be some sort of coordination between Mueller and Comey to make sure he doesn't step on what's going on with the special counsel.
Yeah, a lot of speculation about what he is going to say.
Yes, we will be watching that for sure that day, right, Shannon? Crunch time on the climate deal. You know that world leaders want the U.S. to stay. Here at home, however, many are divided, including those in the West Wing. Which way will he go? Which way should he go? Grover Norquist says everybody who hates Trump wants him to stay. He'll explain in a moment live. Also, stunning video out of Texas.
He got his...
Bullets flying as a pair of bounty hunters corner a fugitive at a car dealership. It is all caught on camera.
Tiger Woods, dazed and confused, just released police dash cam video of his arrest from the other night. A live report on him and his condition coming up.
Okay. Have you had anything to drink tonight?
I'm not.
Are you sure?
Yes.
100%?
100%.
Okay. Have you taken any illegal drugs?
No.
Okay. Have you taken any medication?
Yes.
His country has never been involved in hacking. Putin says some rogue patriotic Russians could be carrying out hack attacks, but he says the Russian government is not. He also rejected the notion that hacking could change the outcome of any election in the West. U.S. intel agencies have accused Russia of hacking into or using phishing to access the Democratic Party and the Clinton campaign chairman's emails and publicly releasing them before Election Day.
Did he weigh in on the content farms in Macedonia?
It's on the list. It is on the list.
President Trump's going to announce today whether or not the United States will exit the Paris Climate Accord. China saying it will stick with the agreement, regardless of the decision whether or not the U.S. stays or goes. Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, a lot of strong feelings on this, and thank you for being here today. Good morning to you. What do you think he will do?
I think he'll pull out. He said he was going to do that when he ran for office. China is going to stay in. They don't have. They promised not to do anything till about 2030. Then they promised to maybe do something. They're building 350 coal-fired plants right now. So this whole approach.
So you're saying no nuance here. Get out
No,
of it.
it's very clear. This disadvantages the United States. It advantages China and India, who are both building coal plants, and the Europeans, which have bought into the subsidized corporate welfare, green energy that needs to be subsidized, and they've raised the price of their own manufacturing and energy so high, they need the United States to put on the same manacles, the same, restrictions, so that they can compete with us. Oh, and then they want us to spend hundreds of billions of dollars subsidizing third world dictatorships, because that's how we bought their votes in the UN to say that they would agree maybe someday to do something about global warming.
Well,
but first they want money.
Go inside the West Wing for a moment. Steve Bannon wants him to get out. He agrees with your position on that. The electorate, many of those who voted for Donald Trump probably feel the same way. You've got the CEOs that Donald Trump aligns with for most of his adult life. On the other side, you have internal disagreements within his own family that you know he respects and honors and listens to. So no nuance, no caveats, just we're out and done for now?
Well, that's what he should do. I mean, there are several options. This is a treaty. It's going to hamstring us for years to come. If we're going to do anything, we ought to go to the Senate and say, Obama did this by executive order. He just all by his lonesome, he said, we're in, you can tell us what to do. If we're going to have an agreement like that, it needs to be voted on by 2/3 of the United States Senate. That's what the Constitution says.
Should he kick it to Congress?
The Senate, yes, for an act.
Should he?
Yes, he should, and I believe he will. Among other things, there are a lot of Democratic senators who want to vote with the left wing, but who cannot survive in their states if they continue the war on energy, coal, natural gas, fracking, that they've been engaged in.
That's a very interesting point in the politics. Two things I want to get to quickly. You were quoted in the New York Times the following way on screen. Everybody who hates Trump wants him to stay in Paris. Everybody who respects him, trusts him, voted for him, wishes for him to succeed, wants him to pull out. Yeah. There's a love-hate relationship.
It is. It's completely correct quotation. And it is exactly true that the people who are telling him that he should do this, they may have some hope that the New York Times and the Washington Post and the three networks will say something nice about Trump. But there isn't an editorial that won't be bashing him halfway through the first paragraph. If he gives the Paris folks, the Chinese government, and the European greenies what they want, and the third world dictators who want more money, if he signs on to that, there'll be this moment where people say, very nice of him to do that. We still hate him. And the rest of the editorial will be about how awful he is. It won't buy him 30 seconds of politeness from the folks who really want to see him fail.
Elon Musk, you know how much he's doing with technology these days with SpaceX and the Tesla car and the batteries that go with it, tweeted this. Don't know which way Paris will go, but I've done all I can to advise directly to POTUS, through others in White House and via councils, that we remain. You know, he's got a big part in this as a business decision. My expectation is that if he follows what you're explaining here, then, you know, he's going to be in that category that says Trump screwed up.
Follow the money. Follow the money. There are whole industries, and the solar industry is one where Musk has gotten billions of dollars of your tax dollars in subsidies to fund, quote unquote, corporate welfare for his industries, which he then uses to shoot things up into the sky. I think shooting things into the sky is cool. I wish he'd do it with his own money instead of taxpayers' money recycled through corporate welfare. There is a lot of corporate America that gets money, billions, because they make imaginary energy. They make subsidized energy that doesn't create energy unless you spend more money to put it in than you get out. And that's, unfortunately, the wind folks and a lot of the solar people. There are a lot of there's a lot of corporate welfare here. They think that if we get into the Paris, then the corporate welfare spigot continues forever.
Thank you, Grover. I'm just hoping my app can predict the weather this weekend. I mean, for a change, that would be nice. Grover Norquist in Washington. Thank you, sir. 20 minutes past. Shannon.
Well, another story we're following this morning, a deadly shootout inside a car dealership, and it was caught on camera. Check it out.
He got it.
Shots ringing out between two bounty hunters and the fugitive they had been hunting. We've got a live report on how this all unfolded and how it ended.
Also, this town picking up the pieces, a deadly explosion ripping through a factory. What happened there? Next. At least one person dead, 2 others missing after more than a dozen others injured after an explosion at a corn milling plant in central Wisconsin, about an hour northeast of Madison. The blast happened while workers were inside that plant last night. That fire now contained, but the building was destroyed.
They were just trapped inside, a big explosion happened, and then everything just collapsed. A warehouse. Well, we're a small town, so it's scary. We're all close. We hope everyone's fine.
To figure that out in Wisconsin, that cause is still unclear at this hour.
Caught on camera, a deadly shootout inside a car dealership just outside Dallas. Take a look. Shocked bystanders ducking for cover as 2 bounty hunters cornered a fugitive inside an office. Casey Stiegel's live in Dallas with the rest of this story. Good morning, Casey. Walk us through what happened here.
Boy, I tell you, this is insane. This happened in Greenville, Texas, which is about 50 miles or so to the northeast of Dallas. It was just after 7 o'clock in the evening at a busy Nissan car dealership. Listen.
He got it.
Police say 20 gunshots fired in a span of about 6 seconds. In the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you can see it all going down before the camera then goes to the floor. Guns drawn, 2 bounty hunters attempting to take a suspect into custody who's sitting in that glass office with another person. Police say the man who is wanted on a felony drug charge out of Minnesota drew a weapon. A scuffle ensued as frightened people called 911 from hiding spots.
What's the address of the emergency? Yes, in Greenville at the Nissan dealership. There's no shooting. I'm hiding in the bathroom. Please hurry.
Now, when this was all said and done, 3 people were dead, the suspect and the 2 bounty hunters. Shannon, it's amazing. No innocent bystanders were even hurt.
Wow. And you can just hear the fear in her voice in that phone call. It breaks your heart. Okay. So the next question then, did the bounty hunters have legal permission or permission to be there in that dealership? How does this work?
Well, this is where it gets interesting, and this is where it could kind of, shape up over the next day or so. The owner of the dealership says that the bounty hunters told his staff that they were federal agents and that they were there to serve a warrant. But the company who employed the 2 men, FNG Security and Investigations in El Paso, says that his workers would have never misrepresented themselves. However, of course, many questions are being raised about whether going into a public place like that at that time of day with innocent bystanders present, if that was the right move in the first place, Shannon.
All right, Casey Stiegel on that surprising story. Thank you very much.
Amazing video. More stunning video, too, inside of America's Newsroom. This one showing inside the carnage and the chaos of the Orlando terror attack 1 year ago, and this is graphic. Wow. What this new video could tell us about what happened inside is the questions remain about the country's deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. Plus, there is this today.
Do you recall any U.S. ambassadors asking that names be unmasked?
I don't know.
Just days after Congressman Trey Gowdy alluded to it, House Intel Committee subpoenas now sit at the FBI, CIA, and NSA, focusing on 3 former Obama administration officials. Up next, an all-star panel. Marie Harf was State Department spokeswoman at the Obama administration, and Pete Hoekstra, former Republican congressman and Intel chairman.
Also, new reaction on Hillary Clinton's election loss. Blame game as that continues.
I think short of getting 5 o'clock shadow and wearing wingtips on the beach, her transformation into full Nixonian bitterness is complete.
Opening bell on Wall Street just going off about a moment ago, 9:31 in New York. Traders keeping a very close eye on a 3 o'clock announcement later today from President Trump in the Rose Garden. He will announce whether or not the U.S. will remain in the Paris Climate Accord. Many world leaders, major corporations urging him to stay. Others in the West Wing say, keep your campaign promise and get out. More on that coming up shortly here on America's Newsroom.
And the big news today, the House Intelligence Committee issuing subpoenas in the Russia probe. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and President Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen being called to testify. But the other big news, 3 major intelligence agencies also being subpoenaed. The House panel seeking documents from former CIA Director John Brennan, former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and former UN Ambassador Samantha Power. Those subpoenas related to allegations the Obama administration improperly unmasked the names of Americans whose conversations with foreign agents were included in classified reports. Joining us now to talk about it, Marie Harf, former State Department spokeswoman and a Fox News contributor, and Pete Hoekstra, former Michigan congressman and former House Intelligence Committee chairman. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
All right, so we have 2 different sets of subpoenas. A group of them were pushed apparently by the ranking member here, Adam Schiff, the Democrat on the committee, and those go more towards the Russia probe. But there are also these 3 that go to the intelligence agencies. The first question I have, Marie, to you, why would Ambassador Samantha Power, a diplomat, be asking for unmasking?
Well, we'll see what the facts are here. I'm not exactly sure why these people were subpoenaed, and we'll get the information or the documents that were requested, and we'll see what that information shows. It is true that often policymakers and national security officials, foreign policy officials, need more information about these intelligence reports in order to do their jobs defending the foreign policy of the United States. I don't know the facts behind this, but I feel fairly confident that when I served in the administration, people were not improperly unmasked. So let's get to the bottom of that. But let's really focus on the Russia probe here, which is the main goal of the committee's work.
Okay, I want to play a little bit of sound between Trey Gowdy, a Republican congressman, and former CIA Director John Brennan. He obviously was trying to get at something just days ago.
Do you recall any U.S. ambassadors asking that names be unmasked?
I don't know. Maybe it's ringing a vague bell, but I could not answer with any confidence.
Congressman, Trey Gowdy is a former prosecutor. He's very methodical about these kinds of things. And from what we're told, there's already evidence in hand that supports these subpoenas that have gone out. Where do you think this is going?
Well, number one, Trey would not have asked the question if he didn't know the answer. That's the first thing that you do when you're going through a questioning process. You ask a question, only those questions where you know the answer. I think where this goes is, you got to remember, these are members of Congress who are asking the question. And for the last 10, 15 years, as we've known about what the intelligence community does when it surveils Americans, every 5 years when these authorities get renewed, Congress has a question of how far do you guys go? I think that there's going to be real concerns now because the intelligence community continually says, we were doing this all the time. Unmasking is not that unnatural, and these types of things. People like Senator Ron Wyden, Rand Paul are very concerned about this because they think the intelligence community has gone too far. When you get people like Samantha Powers and Susan Rice, who are consumers of intelligence, they're not analysts, and they're asking for unmasking. I think that raises lots of red flags in Congress, and it raises lots of red flags with the American people about how far has surveillance of Americans gone, and has it gone too far?
All right, we're told that one of the reasons we've gotten to subpoenas here, the report is that the NSA was initially somewhat helpful in getting to the bottom of some of these things, but the FBI, the CIA, not so helpful, and that the NSA has now clammed up. What do you make of that, Marie? I mean, if we're all about getting to the bottom of these things, shouldn't everybody cooperate?
Well, they should. And, it is true that consumers of intelligence sometimes do have a reason to have names unmasked. But the congressman is absolutely right in that every 5 years or so, we have a debate about intelligence and particularly looking at American citizens. And that's a debate that he was part of in Congress and that I'm confident we will have again. It's not limited to the Obama administration. So we want people to be cooperative here. I also want the Trump team to be cooperative. And the reports over the last few days that his lawyer won't cooperate with the subpoenas, that Mike Flynn is not willing to cooperate, that I think is problematic. And when the Trump team says we want to get to the facts here, their people need to play a role in that too.
I just want to make note that Michael Cohen is now, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn has said he is going to turn things over, at least in part. And some of the others have said through legal counsel they will work with Congress to get to the bottom of these things. And that goes all the way up to Jared Kushner as well. I want to ask you both about Hillary Clinton. She had a lot to say, and we have made a graphic of all the things just in the one appearance she had yesterday that she blamed for her loss. Netflix, WikiLeaks, bad polling numbers, people assuming she was going to win, misogyny, low information voters. Congressman, do you think it's time to move on? Or is analysis good?
I said recently it was time to move on, but obviously she wants to go back and relitigate this. I'm not sure exactly why she wants to bring this all up. This opens up the door for, the special counsel Mueller to take a look at all of these types of things. I thought she broke the law back in July, and there was plenty of evidence to prosecute her. If this gets relitigated, I think she may be, looking at asking President Trump for a pardon rather than getting an excuse as to why she lost this election. I don't know why she wants to go back there.
All right, well, let's play a little bit of what Dr. Charles Krauthammer had to say about these constant explanations by the former Secretary of State.
I don't think she's capable of discussing anything about the election in a way that makes, anything other than sympathy for her. I mean, she has made herself pathetic.
What do you think, Marie? Your response to the doctor?
As a Democrat, I would say that I'd like to hear a little bit less from Hillary Clinton, and I hope my party isn't doing this kind of blame game and is looking in a really serious way at how we win voters back. That's what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on relitigating 2016. No one in America wants to, I don't think. So I'm happy to hear from new leaders in our party and to look at what Democrats will be in 2 years and 4 years and 10 years and not what they were last year.
All right, so you both agree you don't want to hear from Hillary Clinton anymore or less from her, and that we should be taking a closer look at how the government is surveilling all citizens. So we'll leave it there on that note. Marie, Congressman, good to see you both.
Hey, great, thank you.
Pretty good series right now. Penguins taking charge in the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 2 last night. game was tied. Third period, the Pens score 3 quick goals yet again in the second game against the Predators out of Nashville, going on to win game 3. 4-1 final. Penguins now up 2-0 in the best-of-7 series. Really good series. Very aggressive. Very fast. I know you're a Pens fan.
I am. That's how we like our hockey.
I like the Nashville team. I like the way they play.
And there's Carrie Underwood. Can you really, be rallying against her?
Okay. All right.
I mean,
well, you can cheer for her if you like. But I hope we get a really good series.
Yeah.
Because I think that sport, especially here and the lower 48, let's say, needs a little bit of a boost.
Yeah. Well, they changed places tonight, so we'll see if the hometown location makes a difference. In the meantime, we now know that 11 Americans were hurt in that deadly bombing in the heart of Afghanistan that we covered this week, all while the Trump administration mulls now sending more troops there overseas. What should the president do? Congressman Adam Kinzinger joins us. Plus this.
Do you remember what happened when my partner came up behind you? Do you remember being asleep in the car?
A confused Tiger Woods at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is the dash cam video of his arrest. Police now releasing that, the arrest of the golfing legend Tiger Woods. What this tells us about his condition in a moment.
Do you understand the instructions? Okay, what were the instructions?
Not to sing the national anthem backwards.
FAA fining United Airlines more than $400,000 for allegedly flying a plane that was not in, quote, airworthy condition. According to the agency, the airline replaced a fuel pump pressure switch on one of its 747s and then resumed flying without finishing a required inspection. The FAA says United flew the plane 23 times, both domestic and foreign flights, before that inspection was ultimately performed. For somebody who does not love flying, those are stories that I really don't need to read.
Pretty reassuring, isn't it?
Trains don't leave the ground. If only they went everywhere.
44 past the hour now. Got a pair of massive bombings in Kabul highlighting the security challenge the U.S. military faces in that country. The latest attack killed at least 90 people inside the diplomatic zone, 11 Americans injured among them. Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger, member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and a pilot in the Air National Guard, with me now. And, sir, good morning to you. The challenges are many. This does not happen unless you get help from the inside in this part of Kabul. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's possible. This came from a sewage truck. Keep in mind, Kabul doesn't have sewer systems, so they have these trucks all over the place. And if you've ever been there, you see them everywhere. And they fill this thing with explosives. And so, the question is, how did it get in? We do know that the Afghan security forces actually prevented it from getting all the way into the diplomatic zone, which I think is important to note. But there's really no way, when you talk about an environment where people want to kill people and they're willing to do anything to do it, you can push out checkpoints as far as you want, but ultimately there's still going to be people at the other end of that checkpoint. This is a sad situation, and yesterday everybody spent more time talking about a tweet than they did about the 500 people that have been killed or injured in Afghanistan in a very real war
devastating.
That has very real implications.
Can James Mattis, can General Nicholson, can they change the course of this war in Afghanistan?
I think so. You can stabilize the Afghan government. Keep this in mind, there's about 150 or more Afghan soldiers that are giving their lives every month to defend their country. So the Afghan people are really stepping up. Our job is to advise and consent, to hit terrorists where they don't have the ability to, and we do. And I think we also need to go after Taliban targets again. But I think the thing the American people need to keep in mind is this. If you think that devastating truck attack was really bad yesterday, and it was bad yesterday, these are the kind of people that would love to be able to do this on the streets of the United States of America. And what's stopping is that we're fighting them over there versus relaxing and letting them do that over here. So this is a very important war, but it's important to keep in mind too, when you're fighting an ideology, you're not fighting, the Nazis with a standing army. When you're fighting an ideology, this is going to be a generational war. And as much as I hate to say it, I wish I had better news. I think we're going to be in a fight against radical Islamic terrorism probably for the rest of my life.
You're right about all that. And you're right also about wanting to do it here in terms of killing more people and killing Americans. 2,000 to 4,000 is the proposal, American troops to join that fight. Would that make a difference?
Well, I'm going to leave that answer to the generals who know better. I think whatever troops are necessary to accomplish the mission is what we need to do. The problem we had over the last 8 years under President Obama, number one, I can't remember a single time he ever made the case for the war in Afghanistan when he was president. He did a lot when he was candidate, using it to go against the Iraq war. But as president, I never heard him make the case to the American people. The other thing is he would put in like 9,800 troops. Why 9,800? Because it's 4 figures instead of 5 figures. So what we need to do is the amount of troops necessary, with NATO involvement, by the way, to actually accomplish this mission, which is stabilizing the Iraqi government, pushing back, and ultimately driving the Taliban to the negotiating table, how most wars end, but not just because we like the number 2,000 or 5,000.
Yeah,
we need what's necessary.
Last point on all this. You know the shifting alliances in Afghanistan, right? ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Khorasan, on and on it goes. And, you know, the Taliban, you know, they're always trying to pick a winner and jumping from one side to the other, depending on how they survive. That's really, it's a toxic mix rather. General Nicholson earlier this year said we are at a stalemate. Do you think that's the case? Last word.
I do think that's the case, and I think we can break that stalemate. And as you mentioned, there are shifting alliances. The key is let's try to change the view that this is a stalemate. Let's go on the offensive. Some of these people you can potentially bring onto your side or neutralize them through negotiated solution when that time is right. Look in Colombia, by the way, what they've done with the FARC. We prosecuted special forces along with the Colombian government, a war against the FARC. Now they've gone to a negotiated solution and a peaceful reintegration. We hope that lasts. That's the kind of model for Afghanistan. By the way, that fight in Colombia took a very long time with very good results in the end.
Adam Kinzinger, thank you very much from your hometown there in Illinois. Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you real soon.
Take care.
It's a breaking news from the White House on whether the U.S. will move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The deadline for a decision is today. Congressman Ron DeSantis says the move would send a signal that America is back. He joins us next hour to explain. Oh, well, we have got some new information for you. Shocking dash cam video of Tiger Woods just released by the police in Jupiter, Florida.
Touching your toe of your left foot. All right, make your right foot heel touch your toe.
It's tough to watch. The golfing legend unable to walk alone, his slurred speech, and after police found him asleep at the wheel along a highway over Memorial Day weekend, he is facing charges of driving under the influence. Julie Banderas is live in our New York City newsroom with more. All right, fresh details. Good morning, Julie.
Yeah, Shannon, you know, as if that mugshot wasn't embarrassing enough, Tiger Woods facing yet another round of shame. This video, a hole in one for law enforcement, providing that it just basically proves just how incoherent the golf pro really was when police found him pulled over on the side of the road at 3 a.m. Monday morning, sleeping at the wheel with the engine still running. Now, here's what he looked and sounded like after cops woke him up and did a field sobriety test. And let's just say he didn't pass.
Recite the entire English alphabet in a slow, non-rhythmic manner, meaning you're not going to sing it, okay? Do you understand the instructions?
I do.
Okay, what were the instructions?
Not to sing the national anthem backwards.
Not to sing the national anthem backwards? Okay.
So you can see him here then trying unsuccessfully to tie his shoes. Although Woods wasn't driving at the time police found him, he was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence, a charge he denied in a statement released on Monday. Well, now, Tiger did apologize to his family, friends, and fans, but he also spoke about how inebriated he was, but says he wasn't drunk, which reads in part, "I want the public to know that alcohol was not involved. What happened was an unexpected reaction to prescribed medications. I didn't realize the mix of medications had affected me so strongly." Here's how he's being asked to say the alphabet.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H.
In the affidavit, police describe him as extremely slow and slurred, mumbled, confused. Woods later told police he had taken several prescription medications, which in fact we all know he had been taking since undergoing back surgery, the reason why he's been unable to play golf. Breathalyzer and urine tests, it's important to note here, also showed no alcohol was in his system. Tiger didn't know where he was at the time of his arrest. He is scheduled to be in a Florida court in July. Shannon.
All right, much more to learn about that. Julie, thank you very much.
A couple things to